My name is Jason Hardy. I'm the community forester for the City of Cheyenne Urban Forestry Division. I'm also the secretary for Rooted in Cheyenne and do most of the administrative work. If you've dealt with Rooted in Cheyenne, you probably got an email from me or talked to me at some point in time. But yeah, that's me.
One of the biggest questions I had as a homeowner was, I got my tree in the fall, so how am I supposed to take care of this in the winter time when Rooted isn't coming to water for me anymore? And so I think Jason has some really good tips on how and why we should be watering in the winter, because I think a lot of people are adverse or think that it's weird or not right to water in the winter time. It just seems counterintuitive, but it's absolutely necessary for the survival of Wyoming trees.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things for your trees, actually, winter watering. Even though the canopy of your tree is not active, the roots are still active, and that's when when it's dry in the winter. Even if we do get snowfall, it takes a lot more snow than you think to really get enough to water the trees. So you want to make sure in the wintertime you're watering at least once a month when the temperature is above 40 degrees usually. Try not to water before, in the late afternoon before nightfall, because you don't want the water to freeze. If possible, you want to be able to take up some water before it does freeze. If you don't have your faucet hooked up or it's winterized for the winter, use a gator bag if you have it to water your tree. Use a bucket with holes in the bottom. Use a cooler. Just use something that can slowly water your tree during the winter. I mean, it's more important than you would think.
The other thing we want homeowners to understand is that a distressed tree from overwatering or underwatering can look quite similar. So we get a lot of calls from homeowners about their trees in distress, and they either are thinking that they are being underwatered or overwatered, and so we kind of want to clarify what and how underwatering and overwatering your tree can look similar.
Yeah, so that's the problem with watering trees is overwatering a tree and underwatering a tree can look exactly the same. We can have the same problems within the tree just because it's a root issue, and when the tree has a root issue, it shows the same signs. So either if it's dry or wet, it's going to show the same signs. What I tell everybody is if you don't know how much to water your trees, pull the mulch back and look at the soil, and if your soil is wet, then don't worry about watering your tree. Wait till that soil is dry and then water your tree. That's a good rule of thumb. Never water your tree if it's soaking wet.
The watering or how much you water can differ based on the age of the tree. And so we can kind of get into how much you should be watering based off of the age of your tree.
Yeah, so a good rule of thumb for watering your trees is you want to put 10 gallons of water on your tree per inch in diameter. So that rule works for every size tree, anywhere from the rooted trees, which are, maybe 2 inches in diameter. That's why we always say 20 gallons of water per week for those, up to your huge cottonwoods that are 30-inch diameter. That's 300 gallons if you want to do that. But yeah, that rule of thumb can work for any tree, anywhere. And it usually is good enough for the tree.
I think that another misconception that homeowners might have is that if and at what rate we need to fertilize our trees in Wyoming. And depending on who you talk to, I think that you can hear a difference of opinions. So do you want to elaborate on the fertilization of trees in Wyoming?
Yeah, fertilizing your trees, we don't recommend it for the first year, because what the fertilizer is going to do is it's going to push out leaf growth. And in the first year that you have your tree, you're not trying to get leaf growth, you're trying to get root growth. So with that being said, no fertilizer the first year. After that, you're welcome to fertilize in spring, usually is fine. I wouldn't fertilize, less is better. Most of the trees that we have in the city, we don't even fertilize and they do fine. Most of the time, it's just a water issue. If you water your trees well, then they'll do great without the fertilization. But yeah, it's up to the homeowner. If you're going to do it once a year in the spring, usually suffices.